My guest this morning is Harriet Hageman, Republican Congresswoman from the state of Wyoming, sits on the Natural Resources and the Judiciary Committee. And please welcome her to our program this morning. Congresswoman, good morning.
Good morning, Al. How are you today?
I'm good. And thank you for seeing me last week. I did appreciate that visit and look forward to our visit this morning. Let's start with the president's address to the joint session of Congress last Tuesday. I was in the gallery for that, so I had an opportunity to view that up close and personal, but I'd like your take on it. I mean, I know how you feel about the speech. There was a lot of up and downs going on, and you certainly participated in that, but what was your takeaway from that speech?
Well, I thought it was very aspirational, very hopeful, and I think it describes a new renaissance in America. So I thought it was a great rendition or summary of what he has already accomplished as president and what we can expect going forward. So it served two purposes, and I was excited to be there.
He talked about a lot of things he wants to do. Give me your take on what things in there you think can actually get done.
So I think energy independence is absolutely critical for the future of this country, not only from the standpoint of the economic situation and our prosperity, but national security. Energy security is national security. In light of the hot spots and things that are going on in the Middle East, the destabilization related to what happened on October 7th, 2023, just the other things with the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, it's more imperative now than ever that we actually that we are energy independent, and that includes doing more in terms of oil and gas development, coal development, uranium. We just need to make sure that we are producing affordable and reliable energy because it is so important for the economic well-being of our people. The other thing is I think that we need to make sure that we are putting America first, and he says it over and over again. None of us are talking about being isolationists. I know sometimes we get accused of that, and he gets accused of it. I am not isolationist. America has a very, very, very important and strong role to play internationally, but we need to pick our battles, and we need to make sure that the battles that we're in are being fought intelligently. I think that everybody recognizes that there needs to be a change in terms of what is happening with Russia and Ukraine. We need to find a resolution to get a ceasefire in that conflict, stop the meat grinder, and find a way that we can move forward. I thought that that was a good part of his speech. And then again, just domestically, protecting our border, protecting the homeland, making sure that we're getting criminals out of our communities. I think everybody can relate to all three of those.
Let's talk about that first one, energy independence. What does it mean for the nation? What does it mean for Wyoming that the former governor of North Dakota is the Secretary of the Interior?
I think it's huge. He obviously was a state that they are primarily oil and gas. They don't have the same level of mining that we do, and they don't have the federal lands, but he clearly understands energy production. He understands the importance of that in terms of even your local community well-being. So it's exciting to have someone with Doug Burgum's background and experience in that role. I think it's fantastic. I just had a conversation with him about 10 days ago talking about the Rock Springs RMP, the Buffalo RMP, what we need to do to reverse those and make sure that we can access the resources that we have and use common sense when we manage our land and our minerals and our water and air quality, all of those things. So he's on the same page as the president. He's on the same page with me. I look forward to working with him, and I think we're going to get some real good things done in terms of fixing that Rock Springs RMP.
You sound hopeful about getting some changes there.
I'm always hopeful. I think that if we all put our wheel to the, put our shoulder to the wheel, we can get a lot of things accomplished. I recently read an article, and it was probably about 2017, maybe 2018, and it was a general who had been involved with a lot of different things over the years, including related to when I talked about energy security and national security. And he said, here's the fact. The United States is never going to be energy independent. We need to stop talking about that. It is ridiculous that we're even talking about being energy independent. Within 1 year of him saying that, because of the previous policies of President Trump when he was in office last time, we were a net exporter of energy. It's not only possible, but it's absolutely imperative. So again, I think that if we are aspirational, if we are all trying to solve the problems that we're confronted with, rather than grandstanding or just getting on TV, I think we can accomplish great things.
You said another thing was to put America first again, and of course, a lot of the tariff talk has been around that kind of a philosophy. The president has said he's putting tariffs on, then he's backed off, then he goes. Do you know what the game plan is here? Do you have a feel for what the strategy is?
Sure, and I think it's pretty obvious. I think that he's using talks about tariffs to make sure that other countries around the world are treating us fairly. You know, there are tariffs that they have imposed on us. If you go to England, you have to, or in most European countries, you're paying a VAT, a value-added tax. That's a tariff. That is a tariff that you're paying in their country. So it is something that needs to be fair. It needs to be reasonable. He's using them to change policy. Look at what Mexico and Canada have both done since he started threatening them with tariffs, which is they are doing a better job of restricting the flow of fentanyl into our country. We have all but shut down illegal immigration coming into our country because of enforcement of existing statutes. So I think that the strategy is in part to force these people to the table who've been very obstreperous in the past and basically thumb their nose at the United States government, saying, well, what can you do to me? What are you going to do to me if I allow the Mexican drug cartels to control the border? What are you going to do to me if I allow fentanyl to flood into your country? What are you going to do to me if I impose tariffs against you? Well, he says, I'm going to retaliate. And he's showing them that he will. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Let's see if we can actually enter into an agreement. So I think he's playing hardball, but that's what we want him to do.
In terms of all the tariffs, the president has said it can be painful for a while. Do you have any clue how much pain and for how long?
I don't have an answer to that, and I don't know what he means or how that compares to the inflationary pressures that we have seen under Joe Biden because of energy policies. You know, so much of the inflation that we suffered from over the last couple of years is because the moment that he went into office, he went to war with domestic energy production. Now, that doesn't mean that we reduced the amount of energy we were consuming in this country. It's just that we had to import it from other places. So we're importing oil and gas resources from in some cases mortal enemies, and we're doing that at a substantially higher cost. And so that's when you're talking about inflation, when you're talking about taxes, if we write these other policies, I think, number one, they're going to reduce inflation. So I think that in the long run, and I don't know when, I'm not the economist, but I think in the long run, by producing our own energy, by being more effective in producing our own food, I think that we are actually going to be able to reduce the price for the American consumer.
The president has made it clear he wishes to dismantle the Department of Education. Is that a radical idea?
No, it is not. And I think I am a perfect example of why I say it is not. I graduated from high school in 1981. The Federal Department of Education was created by Jimmy Carter in 1980. I graduated from Lingo Fort Laramie High School, a little tiny school on the eastern edge of Wyoming. My class was 30-some students. My entire high school was made up of 125 students. We didn't have such things as speech. We didn't have foreign languages. We didn't have a lot of other things that you would have in bigger schools, but I had phenomenal teachers. The school board was incredibly engaged with ensuring that we were receiving a high-quality education right there in the smallest schools in the least populated state in the nation. Math, English, European literature, science, civics, history, social studies, welding, how to build pig barns, how to be a good farmer, range management, woodworking. I received a phenomenal education without any influence from the federal government, and as did my brothers and sisters, as did so many people of our generation. So the idea that we have to have the federal Department of Education, that we need to launder our money through the federal Department of Education for us to be educated is just absolutely ludicrous. In fact, I think the exact opposite is true. I think that we received much more of a high-quality classical education when I was in school than we have received since, with the federal Department of Education in control, because they're more focused on indoctrination.
They always say follow the money. Is there any threat to funding with dismantling the Department of Education?
The Federal Department of Education spends $240 billion a year, and only about 25% of that actually goes to education. So I think people themselves can do the math, especially if they were educated before the Federal Department of Education came into existence. And I think that they can see right up front that wasting $200 billion back here in Washington, D.C. hasn't done much to educate our kids.
Well, I graduated before you, so I guess I can do the math. That was a good comment. Let me ask you about the Postal Service. Obviously, the Postmaster General had a great plan because he told us it was a great plan. What was it? Delivering for America. But now I see he wants to leave the post and get somebody else in there. But you have been involved with legislation that would make it, shall I say, more transparent in terms of closing small post offices. What are you getting to there?
So more transparent, but in addition to that, not taking away the postal services that we actually have. Wyoming and South Dakota right now, under his plan, were slated to be the two hardest hit in terms of being able to maintain postal and services in our states. So his plan really was that all of our mail would be processed outside of the state of Wyoming. And there was one example that we had where if you mailed a letter in western Wyoming to eastern Wyoming, it would have to go through 4 states' processing centers to be able to get to its intended recipient. Now, why this is such a concern is not only does it affect bills, and it affects our ability to do filings with our court system, but we have mail-in ballots. And in southern Utah in June of last year, there was a circumstance where all of their mail is processed in Nevada, and they mailed their ballots in with plenty of time ahead of the election. But it took so long to be processed in Nevada that they were disenfranchised. And there were hundreds of people disenfranchised from being able to vote because they did not process their mail quickly enough, and it affected the outcome of elections. We have veterans who are dependent upon mail order medications. We are entitled, like any other state, to have reliable and affordable postal services. And so I have been fighting hard against DeJoy essentially since I came in here and found out what he was trying to do to protect our mail services in Wyoming.
Delivery for America, is that still the plan now that he has announced he's departing?
So a couple things have happened. One is he has backed off of the idea that he's taking away our processing and distribution facilities. So they are investing money in both Casper and Cheyenne, and we will continue to do processing there. There's aspects of the plan that they're still trying to go forward with, which is why I am continuing to introduce bills such as you said, the transparency bill that says if you're going to try to affect service at a particular local post office, you must post what it is that you're going to be doing so that the public can actually engage with the process. So again, it is bringing more transparency and accountability in terms of this particular issue to Wyoming.
I think the revision was called Delivery for America 2.0. Was it significantly different?
Well, at least we're saving some of our processing and distribution systems, so that's a step in the right direction. It isn't ultimately what I want to accomplish, but we've at least accomplished that. We've been able to save those, and they've indicated, the post office or the Postal Service has indicated that they are planning on investing millions of dollars in those facilities. And I guess it's my view that if they're going to be investing that money, they will intend to operate them long term.
Final question this morning, Congresswoman, that is where we are with the budget resolution. I think Did it get through the House and there's a reconciliation going on?
So there's the reconciliation going on, and the first step in that process had to be that both houses had to pass a budget resolution, which we have now done. What that means is that we can now go to conference committee, iron out the differences, put that budget on the floor, vote for that, and then with that package in hand, that will basically govern the overall reconciliation process that we're in. And so that's the exciting part about this, is we're now going to be able to realize some real savings and some real fundamental policy changes for the American people through reconciliation. We're hoping to cut substantial amounts of wasteful spending. There's so much waste, fraud, and abuse. I think that has been exposed by this administration just in the short time that they've been in office. And so I'm just extremely excited that we're going to have the opportunity to really right-size our government and do what I've been talking about for many, many, many years.
Two deeply divided houses. I mean, you lose one Republican, and who knows what happens? Can you? Do you think this can get through both the House and the Senate? I do. Again, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because it's the right thing to do. And I think people have to really take a hard look as to whether they want to be the one that's in the way of us accomplishing these things and delivering for America. The election in November, if you're an elected official, if you're not paying attention, you need to get out of the way. The American public spoke. They want secure borders. They want reduced inflation. They want to be able to keep more of their own paychecks. They want to make sure that we're producing our own energy. They want to stop getting involved in every conflict around the world and expending our own incredible treasure that we have over the last 20 years of nonstop wars. They want America first. They want us to put America first. They want us to put them first, which is what that means. That's not just some nebulous concept. They want us to be thinking about them first. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. It's what I've tried to do since I've been here, and I think every single person who comes here, they better be on board with that or they need to get out of the way. Congresswoman, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. It was good to see you. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.